Hey, welcome back to Jamie Bake's Summer of Creativity. These are some of the tools you're going to need today. Pencil, pen, something to color with. And today we're going to be drawing Wolverine. And we're not drawing this Wolverine. This is something that I've drawn before. He's one of my favorite characters. And I just want to show you guys what I usually do because it's much different from what we're going to be doing today. I'm going to simplify it a lot. I still want this Wolverine to look cool, but I also got to make it much easier so all of you guys at home can do it. So we're going to start off with a circle for the head and the center line. Remember to draw very lightly so we can erase the lines that we don't want to keep. Alright, the head's more like an oval or an egg shape. And I'm going to do this big smiley face right underneath. And this is going to be his chest. And his shoulders are high up. And he's going to be doing this lunging pose like he's coming at us. So those are his back muscles over his head. And then these other circles off to the side are his fists. And what I like to do sometimes is lay out, just figure out where I want the important pieces to be, and then I draw the connecting elements. So these are his fists. We can see his fingers, his and his knuckles. He's got his fists clenched, and his claws are going to be coming out at us. He's going to be real angry about it. And I'm just trying to lay out the rest of the body. I'm going to make sure, this is usually called like a gesture or a rough sketch. And artists usually do this to make sure that everything looks right before they start laying in the details. See, and then I start connecting the dots with the arms. And he's pretty muscular, so his arms aren't going to be little sticks. They're going to be curved, usually like each muscle will look like a ball, generally. But now we're on to the mask, and he has this big spiky mask. And it comes up from where the eyes should be. And then it fans out to the side and down. And then it doesn't go all the way across the face. It goes down to the nose and outlines the nose. And then I just drew that line there to kind of show where the nose is and how it lines up with the fans on the side of the mask. And if you need to, pause and rewind and take it back. I'm going to draw a little frowny face. He's angry, so the eyes are going to be angled down. And they're really easy triangles. It's really easy to draw an angry person. Just give them triangular eyes. Make sure they're angled down. Alright, now I'm going back to work on the claws. Pretty simple spikes. Just make sure that the angle of the claws works with your arms. You don't want his spikes to be going out if it doesn't look like it matches his hands. And then this arm was a little different, so I gotta change the angle of the claws a little bit. But now I'm moving on to the rest of the body. And he is a typical superhero. He likes wearing his underpants on the outside of his pants. So we can all see his tighty whities. But he's kind of crouched and ready for action, so we have his legs bent. In his costume, he has, similar to his mask, he has these pointy things coming out of his legs, too. And I'm not going to worry about the feet. The feet are going to be hidden by some sort of smoke or fog. This is an old comic book artist trick. Whatever they don't want to draw or can't figure out, they just hide it. They'll hide it with random stuff, rocks, debris. Like you can have a bunch of broken up boxes down there. In my case, I'm going to use smoke. Smoke or fog, either one. But now I'm going to go over my drawing and I'm going to figure out, does this all look right? And then I'm going to grab my pen and start going in and figuring out the exact lines I want to use and the details. A little different than my other drawing videos. Normally I get all the details done and then I go over it with the pen, and this would be a faster process, but this video is going to be a little bit more accurate to how I normally work. This is normally all I need to do before I start going in with my pen and inking. And all these super simple shapes I start making a little bit more complex. Wolverine is probably my favorite character to draw. So his mask is, the spiky parts are blue, and then the center part is yellow. So I'm going through, I'm really showing that. But it goes around the side of his head. And really the only part of his skin on his face that shows is his mouth area and his chin, but it doesn't go all the way to the sides of his jaw. So make sure you get that. And then I'm adding some shadow on the underside of his lip and defining the chin. You don't have to do that. Whatever you want to do and can do, go ahead. Be creative with it. Maybe he's smiling in yours. Whatever you want to do. This is the summer of creativity. Not the summer of do whatever Mr. Bakes says. So, and I think I made his chest a little too big in my pencil sketch, so I just made it a little smaller on that one side, and then I added a belt here. He has a red belt for some reason. It's the only part that doesn't fit with the rest of his costume. But he also has these tiger stripes going on. He has 3 on each side, and then the 2 on his shoulders. Well, not like on his shoulders, but between his head and his shoulders. And normally I would do this in a lot more detail and a lot more shading and everything, but like I said, I want to make it a little bit more simpler for you guys to follow. And hopefully this isn't too complex. Now that I'm looking at it, it looks like it might be a little hard for some of you guys, but hopefully you guys can do it. And I noticed I didn't get my claws right, so I'm erasing them and fixing them. This is why you shouldn't push hard with your pencil, right? It's one of the few things you can erase and take back and fix easily. And I'm doing it here too. And just draw the hands the best that you can. Hands are super complicated to draw, so I'm trying to make it simple for you guys. It's the hardest thing for artists to learn. So, and don't forget his gloves. He has blue gloves right there. They go like halfway up his forearm. So remember, 4 fingers and a thumb for the hands and 3 claws. Alright, now let's move on to the legs and the lower half of the body. Like I said, typical superhero wears his underwear on the outside of his pants. How embarrassing. Right. Then he has these thick thighs go down to the knees and yada yada. Don't forget the spiky part on his legs. I don't know what to call it, but it's just part of his costume. And then I add a few ab muscles. Doesn't have to be super complex. And then the fog, that's going to hide his feet. So I add some behind his legs and then some in front of his legs too. And then go in and erase the pencils that you don't want to keep. Because once you start coloring with marker, it stays. It's there. It's stuck. You can't erase that. Alright, and he's mostly yellow and blue, so it's going to be pretty easy. Now the pen that I used started smudging as soon as I took a marker over it. So, yeah, just a little tip. I don't know what this... I used a zebra pen, but apparently reactivates when you go over it with marker. So, first time I've had that problem. So I was being very careful when I was coloring this time not to go over the lines, and I was very glad I didn't make a super detailed Wolverine drawing, because then it'd be going over black all over the place. And because I was having that problem, I switched to a color pencil for the blue. I think it looks pretty good. I'm glad I didn't use a marker for all of it. I think if I used a blue marker, it would have looked really dark. Just not what I wanted to do. And add whatever you want in the background. Maybe some ninjas. Maybe he's fighting ninjas or robots. He's fought pretty much everything. Maybe Magneto. Me and my son are watching X-Men 97. New episode comes out on Wednesday on Disney Plus. Super excited about it. Like I said, Wolverine's my favorite character. So, and the red belt doesn't make sense with the rest of his costume, but red belt, and sometimes there's an X there on it. I always add the X anyway, so. But then for the skin tone, I go back to marker because, hey, why not? I didn't have a color pencil that looked good as a flush color or skin color, so. All right, and then I find a weird green for the smoke or fog, whatever, and then I'm going to sign my name. Remember, for you guys to get a free cake pop, just bring your drawing in, hang it up on the wall, and tell me which flavor you want. That's it. That's all you got to do. Follow along with this video and hang it up. So, thanks for joining me again. Stay creative, and I'll see you guys soon.